For this, that was the team that was video, I've travelled back into the 2010s and to the starting 11 of the 2015-2016 vintage. Remember, this is about the season's starting 11, which is usually judged by the most games played individually, but not necessarily. After a 4th place finish the season before, Louis Van Gaal's men got back into the Champions League and were again fighting on 4 fronts, including the Premier League, the FA Cup and League Cup over a 59-match campaign. But remember, this is not about the review of the season, this is about the players who generally made up the starting 11 that campaign. In goal, David Herrera completed his 4th season as United's number 1 and was still generally very reliable in a more mediocre side than when he joined in 2012. This season the Spaniard not only won the Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year award, but also was in the PFA Team of the Year, the only United representative. Matteo Darmian arrived from Torino in the summer of that season and could play either fullback slots and move between the two. Not the greatest in that position in our history, but was involved in almost 40 matches. Daley Blind was a utility player. Able to play midfield, the Dutchman was deployed more in defence at fullback or centre-back as injuries dictated, especially to Luke Shaw on the left. Daley was involved in the most matches this season, starting 55. He was technically gifted and didn't get the credit he deserved at the time. Argentinian Marcos Rojo was plagued with injuries this term and only played around half the matches, but despite that was still one of the 2 most consistently played centre-backs. The other one was Chris, or Mike Smalling as the gaffer called him once, as he was an almost ever-present for United with 55 matches played. That said, he wasn't the very promising player that he once was when Fergie snapped him up from Fulham, and was liable to giving away unnecessary fouls or penalties. He had the ignominy of being sent off for 2 yellow cards in the cup final for clumsy challenges that highlighted his shortcomings. If you could bottle Ander Herrera's enthusiasm and passion and give it to the squad every season, we'd perennially be there or thereabouts for silverware. Despite not being the most gifted midfielder ever at Old Trafford, he made a solid contribution despite some injuries over the campaign. Aged 34 by this point, vice-captain Michael Carrick had seen better days and missed about a third of the season through injury. He didn't get on the score sheet, but his reading of the game and distribution was still important to the side. Spaniard Juan Mata was involved in almost all the games this season, carving out a load of chances and being one of only 3 players to make it to double figures in goals. Important from the dead ball, it was Mata's volley that equalised Palace's early lead in the cup final, getting us back in the game. Academy graduate Jesse Lingard was a revelation in his breakout season, causing a lot of problems for the opposition whilst helping himself to 8 goals. This cracker in the final was the winner that year, and that was the most important contribution he ever made at the club. Bursting onto the scene with a debut goal against Liverpool in September 2015, Anthony Martial was an instant fans' favourite. Young, big, powerful, potent and moody, he was the club's top scorer with 17 goals. Skipper Wayne Rooney turned 30 during this campaign, but had been at Old Trafford for 11 seasons by this point. However, he was still an important part of the squad, one of a handful of quality players United still had, and it was his determination and run that set up the equaliser in the cup final against Palace, leading to him lifting the trophy. He was the second top scorer with 15 goals. And now for a couple of honourable mentions. Marcus Rashford burst onto the scene, but maybe controversially just misses out with his 18 appearances and 8 goals. Morgan Schneiderlin made a lot more starts in midfield than Ander Herrera, but wasn't great, and I couldn't bring myself to bump the Spaniard for him. Memphis Depay was involved in 45 matches, so he really should get a start, but 40% of those were off the bench. The Belgian Marouane Fellaini was a squad player who was involved in 34 matches, scoring 4 times. So that was the first 11 for That Was the Team That Was 2015-16. What are your memories of that season, and would you have made any changes to my lineup? Please write in the comments below and like, share and subscribe. Thank you as always for your support.